Welcome to the third episode of Date with an Entrepreneur. Myself, Thomas, and I'm here with Teresa.
Thank you, Thomas. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of Date with Entrepreneur, organized by IEDC Cell of Thrice College of Engineering, Iringalakura. Thrice College of Engineering, established in 2015, is a new entrant in the field of professional education providers. The college is managed by the CMI congregation of Devmada Province, Thrissur, and is a part of the Christ Educational and Charitable Trust, Iringalakura. I extend heartfelt welcome and gratitude to our Executive Director, Reverend Father John Palekara, our Joint Director, Reverend Father Joy, and the Captain of our ship, Principal Dr. Sajeev John. I also extend welcome to all the Kerala Startup Mission officials present. Special appreciation and greeting to the Nodal Officer of our IEDC cell, Rahul Manohar sir. Also, I welcome CEO of IEDC CCE, Mohammad Ashik. The Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development Cell, IEDC, aims to inculcate and strengthen entrepreneurial quality and motivation necessary to develop knowledge and skills among members of IEDC. We aim to impart basic managerial knowledge and understanding which helps students to formulate the effective, innovative, and profitable projects.
Date with an Entrepreneur, brought to you by IEDC CCE, is providing you with this platform thrice a month, where each time you get to meet a new entrepreneur and get to know his or her roller coaster ride of success and failure. Today, on this third episode of Date with an Entrepreneur, we have very well experienced, tech enthusiastic, and a phenomenal entrepreneur, CEO, Clap Research and GenPro Research, Mr. Anoop P Ambika. We welcome you, sir. Sir, I hope I'm audible, sir.
I am. Thank you, Thomas. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful.
So,
all right,
we can start right.
So, how do we go about this? How do we structure this? Can you just give me a brief on how does this work? Do I give an introduction about myself and then ask questions, or
we will just go like as a chat show, sir?
Okay, wonderful. So I'll give you a brief introduction about myself, and I'll start with that. My name is Anoop P Ambika. I am a graduate in computer science and engineering from TKM College of Engineering. I did my MBA from Babson College in Massachusetts, Wellesley. Then I came back, I did my MSc in computational biology and bioinformatics from University of Kerala. And then I'm also now pursuing my PhD with University of Kerala. So that is my educational background. I started my career with GE Medical Systems. GE is General Electric, which was one of the biggest companies in the world. And then after I worked with GE for some time, I went to US, and I worked in US for almost 8 years. And after 8 years, I came back to Kerala. I started my first venture in April 2004. In April 2015, I sold the company to a US-based corporation. So that was my first exit, so-called acquisition. And then in 2016, I went ahead and started two more companies. One is Clap Research and one is GenPro Research. And Clap Research is a AI/ML product development company, which primarily deals with medical literature processing and review. So we primarily, our customers are pharmaceutical companies. And then we have GenPro Research, which is primarily working on clinical research. So you might all be hearing about the various vaccines that are coming out from across the globe from various pharma companies. All this goes through a clinical research, and there is a certain amount of statistics, biostatistics, and programming that happens in finding out how good the drugs are. And we are in the business of analyzing that data and providing reports to the regulatory agencies like Food and Drug Administration, EMEA, ICMR, etc. Um, why did I become an entrepreneur? Because I think when I was about 30 years old, I kind of felt that I wanted to be on my own. I was feeling kind of bored with the jobs that I was doing. I did work with some very leading organizations like AT&T Bell Labs, Nortel Networks. Then I worked in a startup. I worked for GE. So I had quite a bit of experience over the first few years, around 10 years of my experience. And when I was 30, you might call that a 30-year-old itch or 30-year itch or whatever you call it. And then I decided that I wanted to do something on my own, provide jobs, not be a employee, but an employer. And that was my primary motivation to go ahead and start the company. I didn't have a client. I didn't have a clue about how to start a company and how do you take it forward. But I did venture in just because of the passion. And it was one of the biggest risks that I've taken in my entire life, wherein I left a job in the US and came back to Kerala and started a company of my own. That was my first venture. And then from then on, now I think I've kind of turned into a seasoned entrepreneur. I can't think about anything other than running a company or starting a new company. I can't think about going back to a job now. Given that, I would say entrepreneurship is a very, very, very exciting, risky, very rewarding career if you want to pursue that. I will stop here and, I'll come back to you, Thomas. Shall I continue or do we go for a question from people?
We can come back to all this in the process, I guess.
Right. Okay. So shall I continue?
It's your way, sir.
Or no, no, up to you, Thomas. However way you want to take it, I don't care.
So then I will come at you for these. Okay, sir. So you just said about like at your 30s, you are into this entrepreneurial journey. So that just came into your mind at your 30s, or was it in the beginning from your TKM years that you need to be an entrepreneur in your life?
Right. So, good question. It did not strike me during my TKM years because I have to say, I was born into I would say, middle class family based out of Central Travancore, and making money or having certain luxuries in life was my first priority, frankly speaking. So when I got out of college, I think one of the first things that I wanted to do was to get a salary and get more money in my hands so that I will be able to spend it as I like it. Because all my life I was actually asking my parents for money for whatever I was doing. So I was never an entrepreneur in college. There are people who start from college itself and make money. I'm never an entrepreneur in college. But what happened is, when I got out of college, when I was doing my job, there was a bunch of people who actually ventured out and started a company on their own. There were like 15 or 16 of them who came together and started a company in Trivandrum, which I would say probably was one of the first software entrepreneurial ventures that I've seen in Kerala. They went through their tough patches. They went through, different ups and downs over the next 5-6 years. But I think the fact that a whole bunch of people came and attempted that kind of motivated me, and also felt that it's something that I should do in the longer term. The second thing is, at one point of time when you work very, very, very hard for another company, right? And you feel that, all this hard work that you're putting onto that company could be well utilized if you are making the decisions. That's just a thought that will go through an, entrepreneur's mind at some point of time. I will think that, I'm putting like 18 hours a day. Then why don't I put it for my own company so that I will be the person who will be getting benefited out of it, right? So that was another thought that triggered this, because I used to be a hard worker during my initial days of my career. And I felt that, this hard work is better put to use if I start my own company too. The third thing is basically the fun in creating jobs, right? I mean, the fun or the pride that you have when you see that, you are creating jobs that could affect 100 families, right? That is a great, motivator when it comes to starting a company. So there are, at some point of time, Thomas, I knew that I would go ahead and do this. What I'm trying to tell you is that I didn't have a plan. I did not have a plan other than this huge urge to go and start the company. That's it. And I just went ahead and plunged into the waters, knowing all the greater risks that that I'm having. I'm throwing away my monthly salary. I had a kid, who was just born. I was married like 3 years back and all that stuff. With all that, we just went ahead and plunged. And, my wife also supported me in the decision, luckily. But, that was a decision that you just made. And everything else was, the result of the hard work and strategy that followed.
Okay, so that's the main point we have to take, is that entrepreneur inner call can come at any point in life.
Yeah, Thomas, I can actually, tell you one thing. It's a very difficult job. Don't think about being an entrepreneur just for the heck of it or for the glamour of it, right? One thing that you have to realize is that you might not take a paycheck, but you will still be giving paycheck out to people. So primarily your responsibility becomes paying your employees, not getting yourself paid, right? That's a very difficult, selfless decision that somebody has to take at some point of time. If everything is good, it doesn't matter. But if it's not, then you will go through some really tough times. And not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. So that is what I'm saying. If you look at world over, out of the entire population, there is only, I think, less than 10% of the people who venture out to become entrepreneurs, and 1% people who will become successful in doing that. So remember that the percentage is very, very, very low of somebody who is making it good. Altogether in Kerala, if you look at IT and ITES, you will only have 500 people who are running companies of their own, right? So it's not everybody's piece of cake. But even if you venture out and fail in creating an enterprise, right? The amount of experience that you will gather out of that exercise is going to be far more than what any job can provide you. That is, you should also look at not only at the material side of things, but also from an experience point of view. The entrepreneurial journey will be a far more exciting and fulfilling journey. That I can guarantee.
Indeed, sir.
So it is very clear that you take pride in your team. You take pride in providing opportunities for others. So what do you look for in an employee?
Well, see, it has changed really, Nima, over the last few years. When we first started our interview processes, right? It was more like a very structured format of interview, wherein a person will come in and do a logical aptitude test, right? They will come and do a programming test. They will go through an HR round of an interview, and we will look at the standard things like marks and certificates and trainings and all that stuff. All that has now changed. All that has now changed in the sense, when somebody comes to me for a programming job, I think what we look at now is his GitHub repository or a GitLab repository that you have, right? What have you done, right? Whatever little it may be, what have you done in the past, right? And I think the same thing could apply for mechanical, electrical, and civil engineers, because the world has changed so much that you will be able to accomplish a lot while you are in college itself. Okay, you now have open marketplaces.
Yes.
You have the internet marketplaces. You have various avenues to get yourself trained. You're not only looking up to your teachers for training. You have open courses. You have YouTube videos. So the amount of information that has been pumped on to a student who has got a laptop and internet in a college is far more than what it used to be when we were in college, right? So Along with this, it also becomes an opportunity for all the employees or all the students to become some sort of an entrepreneur during the college days itself. It could be as simple as developing a website, or putting together a small equipment or something like that, which you will be able to do, right? So now what we look
Yes,
at
sir.
is what you have done, right? In college, what are the accomplishments other than, yes, you will be learning your regular syllabus, but other than that, what else have you done? Have you created your own GitHub repository? Have you created a project which might make an impact on the society, right? Have you gone and presented in an international conference? Because all these things are happening in colleges as we speak. So what do we look for? We look for life experiences that people have had around their education, and see if people are willing to put that same enthusiasm onto the job that we are giving them, right? So we want people
Yes,
who
sir.
are not just followers, right? We want thinkers and doers. Like, somebody should be also able to think out of the box and execute that out of the, because I'll tell you one thing, I am 47 years old, and there is a generation apart from you guys, right? I mean, most of you probably would be around your 20s or 18s or something like that, which means that I am actually 20 years ahead of you, and which means that I'm also missing out on the current 20-year-old vibe. Only people like you who are coming out of the college will be able to tell me that this is the in design. This is the new design, not what you are thinking, right? So you want people to speak
Yes,
out. You want people to communicate. You want people to tell that, this is the, this is the norm, the new norm, and you might want to follow that. So we don't want followers, because if I were to tell you what to do, I'll be creating a product for 50-year-olds, right? And that's not what I want to do. I'm creating a product for you guys, right? And only people who are in that age category, which will be like 20 to 30, will be able to tell me what exactly to be done. So basically, communication becomes very important. Your life experiences becomes very important. Your marks, yes, plays a role, but not the biggest role. And the way you put across in terms of your attitude becomes a very important thing when you hire an employee.
okay,
Okay,
sir.
sir. Though everyone sitting here will be getting to their GitHub repositories indeed, and that's just a great example. Each small thing counts as well. So as you were
Thomas,
saying,
Thomas, if I would also like to use it as an opportunity, at least to any computer science or MCA students who are attending this particular session, is if you don't have a GitHub repository already, please go ahead and create a GitHub. Please try and get yourself familiarized with all the various languages that they use in terms of the full stack development that you will do, because that probably is going to be one of the biggest differences between you and any other person who is going to go and look for a job. If you can talk about that experience, please.
myself
Sorry,
being,
Tom.
yes,
Yeah,
myself being a CS student, I'm probably on it now.
right.
So
You
you,
should do that.
yes, so you talked about that generation gap and the technologies that differ between that time, right? All these cool words in computer science, the AI, the machine learning, the data analytics, all become like a wow factor in the past decade or so. But you were already on it in the early 2000s itself. So I assume you were a math geek at college, maybe?
I assume you were a what?
Math geek, maybe?
I wouldn't say so. I was never a geek, which is why I never ended up in the Amazons or Google or something like that. I've got classmates who work in Google who as math geeks, who have then pursued their PhD in applied mathematics and went into full-fledged algorithm development. And that is not for everyone, Thomas. Again, it is not very easy to become a math geek. It is very easy to say so, but the moment you get into real algorithm development or applied mathematics or integrated mathematics and machine learning algorithm development, it is a whole different ball game. I once attended a conference in which somebody was putting out the numbers. There are only, and this was in 2016, there are only 50,000 people in this entire world who will be able to develop an ML algorithm.
Okay.
Okay, 50,000 people in this entire world. So it's not very easy to be. So I was a math, I would say I was very good at math until uh, first few years in college. I was in school, I was very good. In plus two, I was very good. In the early years of mathematics, I was very good. But the moment it went to discrete mathematical structures and finite state automata and pigeonhole principle and all that stuff, I think I kind of lost it. And I then went back and tried a little bit to catch up on it, but then I realized that it's not a very easy task. So believe me, guys, if you really want to make your mark on machine learning and AI, I think you better start listening to those classes, which for computer science, at least, you will have all this, mathematics courses until you're S7. And oftentimes you feel, this is not useful, but it is, believe me. When it comes to ML algorithms, you will definitely find use to it.
Indeed. And at least now we all will be taking our max classes seriously.
Sure.
So we all know the successful entrepreneur Anoop Ambika, but were there any huge setbacks that you faced, particularly in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah. So I told you, Nima, that your name is Nima, right?
No, and Andressa.
I somehow saw. What is your name again?
Andressa.
Andressa. Okay.
Yes.
So I'll call you Anne for the ease
Okay,
of
okay,
it.
okay. Okay.
So Anne, yes, of course. I told you that I never had a plan when I went. I just plunged. I just jumped into the water, right? I never had a plan. Where would a project come from, or what could I do, or anything like that. I just wanted to start a company, which is a very stupid thing to do. Never do that. Actually, have a plan before you start a company. But I never had a plan. So the first 6 months of my entrepreneurship was just like on the job learning for any fresher, right? Because I didn't know what to do. There was nobody to guide me on what to do. I was the CEO, right? I wanted to be the CEO. I just went ahead and hired a whole bunch of people, and I started paying them. I had, though, some funding that came from my friends. So we raised angel investment of around 25 lakhs. And, that is what we used to pay people and take the company forward. And I had a financial plan, which I used my MBA days to prepare, which will take the company to the next 1 year. That is what I had. I had to then go ahead and learn the tricks of sales, the tricks of marketing, the tricks of segmentation, identifying leads. All the sales process I kind of learned on the job. And 6 months went past without any clients or any work. And that was probably the toughest time of my life, right? And then
Yes,
in 2014, we had a crisis, and one of our biggest customers pulled the plug and went bankrupt. And all of a sudden, we were like, going, our revenues was cut short by 50%, and we had a whole bunch of people who were sitting without any work. And that is another major inflection point that we had to, because I'll tell you one thing. When you hire people, right, you're responsible for two things. One is to pay them a salary on a monthly basis, something that you have to do. Second, you are responsible for those people to progress in their professional career, right? So you need to be giving them experience that would add on to their resume. You need to create work for them so that they don't lose the skills that they have acquired from the colleges. So when a client, when there is no customer for your product, or when a customer suddenly pulls the plug, the major problem becomes, how do you keep your employees engaged, right? How do you keep your employees trained and skilled? And that becomes one of the major challenges that we have. And the second challenge is definitely a scale up. Basically, when you scale up from 10 people to 50 people to 100 people to 200 people, every stage of your growth, you are at the risk of destroying your organization. Every stage of your growth. Because growth is good and bad at the same time, right? If you don't grow, then you are not you are actually walking. If you're not walking forward, then everybody else is walking forward and you are actually left behind. So you have to grow. But when you grow, you're at the risk of investing more capital into your business. And if things does not work out as planned, then you are at the risk of losing whatever you have built so far. So it's a double-edged sword, and every stage of growth is a challenge. And when I say, since I was into the services business, I'll just put it in terms of the number of people. But in a product business, it is the number of customers. So when you have 2 customers or 10 customers, you will be able to keep them happy, take care of every single problem that they have. But the moment you have 1,000 customers, then unless you build a good customer support organization as part of your enterprise, then you're at the risk of having a lot of dissatisfied customers. And those dissatisfied customers will tell other customers. And before you even know it, your product branding could be like gone all of a sudden. So those are some of the challenges that we have also faced while building the company.
That's indeed a great journey that you mentioned. So you just mentioned about having this angel funding when you started up your first venture. So
Right.
What can you suggest to those young entrepreneurs who are suffering for funding?
So one of the easiest way to start for IEDC, I'm sure that I don't know if somebody from Startup Mission is part of this webinar, but Kerala Startup Mission has a grant called Idea Grant. I'm sure most of you guys must have heard about it. So there is an Idea Day, which is conducted every once in a while, I think every quarter or something like that, wherein the students can go and pitch their ideas in front of an expert panel. And that expert panel will identify good ideas out of what is being presented. And those ideas will then be given with an initial grant of 2 lakhs to productize or a prototype that idea. And once that 2 lakhs is spent, then you will be able to apply for more funding. I think the funding can go up to 15 lakhs if your product takes shape properly. That is one way of getting the funding. The second thing is there is a lot of rich people around you in Kerala who are looking to invest into smaller ideas, smaller startups that are coming from the colleges. So I think Startup Mission also has a panel of angel investors whom you can approach in order to give you probably 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs or 25 lakhs to productize the idea that you might have. And obviously they will take equity in your company, and when the company grows, then they will plan on taking some share of the profits that you would make.
Indeed, sir. So one thing I just wanted to add upon that was you have been with KSCM for over the past long years, and you're also one of the mentors for the startups, right? So how big is KSCM apart from the funding is for the young engineers, in the opinion, like the technical mentoring and stuff?
Yeah, so the last time I talked, I don't remember if it is 2,000 or 4,000 people. The last time I talked with KSCM, 4,000 companies that were registered with KSCM. Okay. And a lot of them came from the IEDCs or the colleges. So basically, it is a pretty large ecosystem. And, you have all these incubators. You have the Technopark Business Incubator. You have the Amrita Business Incubator. I think Rajagiri also has an incubator. You have Me Zone, which is the Malabar Innovation Zone, which is another incubator. So there are so many of these incubators in which you can actually get yourself incubated into. That will give you access into the day-to-day. And IEDC also gets all the emails, all the programs, everything that is happening in KSCM. So I think, it's a pretty large ecosystem. To answer your question, to exact numbers, I don't remember if it is 2,000 companies or 4,000 companies. If I remember right, I think it's 4,000 people who forms part of the startup ecosystem.
Thanks for sharing those tremendous things, sir.
So, in one of your interviews, I heard you saying when you combine engineering or science with software is when you deliver value products. So, being the co-founder of Creera Solutions, which is now rebranded as Cognub Decision Solutions, Can you describe to us the whole journey of it from the conceiving of the idea to the realization of the organization?
Yeah. So in software, and I think you can largely divide it into two different categories. Okay, one category is the software services, right? And the other category is the product development and the associated software, right? So if you look at your phone, the phone comes with a whole bunch of applications, right? And each one of those applications would have been developed by a software engineer or a mobile application developer or somebody like that. If you look at your, watch, if you have an Apple Watch, then if you look at your Apple Watch will have a whole bunch of embedded software in it, combined with hardware, which will help you keep your fitness, take care of your day-to-day activities and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
During the first uh, 10 years of my entrepreneurship, I was into the software services business, right? And services business, you don't need anything. It's more like a people business. It's what TCS does. It's what Infosys does. It's what UST Global does. What do? You go to a customer and you say that I will develop software for you. Okay. Here is a bunch of people who will be able to do that. You give it to me. I have these processes in place, which will deliver quality software to you. So there is no vision per se in terms of the product development vision is not there in that particular this thing. The only thing that is there is the uh, employee. So basically, what becomes the most important thing? Employees become the most important thing. The more the number of employees, the more the revenue that the company will have. Which is why TCS or Infosys will hire 30,000 people every year, because that is how the revenue is going to multiply, right? So one thing that you definitely want to do is to keep your employees happy, train your people very well, make sure that the experienced people do not leave you, and also establish a very good sales pipeline, which will bring in business for all these people, right? That is our vision. So basically, keep your employee engagement, employee skilling and reskilling and upskilling, and establishing a very good sales pipeline in order to get projects from multinational companies or companies within India is going to be our major challenge. So if you tell me, if you ask me what was the challenges that I faced in that, right? My first challenge was I did not have a client. There was nobody who was paying me, right? I had people, but there was nobody who wanted to take my services for the first. I did not have service also. These were all fresher people that I hired from college. So the first 6 months, I did not have a client, and I had no clue how to get a client. So the first six months, I learned how to acquire a client. I had to kind of teach myself about how do you go about sales, right? And how do you go about sales usually? If you want to sell a product, what do you usually do? You actually go and find buyers for your product. So you oftentimes in these movies and all, I think Emmanuel was a movie in which Mammootty was asked to sell a pen, right? So basically you have a pen, can you sell it? Yes, I can sell it. How do you sell it, right? You immediately need to identify 1 or 10 people who might be willing to buy that pen, right? And the second thing is you need to figure out a way by which you can convince those people to buy that pen, which is called a sales strategy. The first one is called a lead pipeline. So you will establish a lead pipeline, which could be the 145 people who are attending this webinar, right? I can tell you that I'm going to conduct a training program in AI and ML in the next month or something, and I can do a sales pitch right now because these are people aspire job seekers, want to be entrepreneurs and all that stuff. So this is a good category of people to which I can sell my training program if required, right? So here is my sales lead pipeline that I have established. Now comes my next thing is how to approach these people and what is my. So I would tell Thomas, can you help me? Just give me the email IDs of all these people that is attending and phone numbers of them, right? And then I go with a pitch and say that, okay, training, job assured, right? Training program, 30 days, AIML, learn Python, okay, and all that stuff. And then I go and get these people. And then once these people are enrolled, then I need to price my services properly, which is So how much do I charge? If I charge like 2 lakhs or 10 lakhs, students are not going to look at it. So I segment my customers. I look at what category do they belong to? What is it that is a price that is affordable to them? And then provide an offering based on that price that I have defined. So I say, okay, 30,000 rupees job guarantee, right? And that 30,000 rupees coming to that is my pricing strategy. Job guarantee is my strategy for acquire the customers. And once a reasonable amount of people are acquired, then my this thing is to give you a good training, which is what we call it delivery. So you need to have a strategy for a proper delivery of the project, which includes all the Six Sigma and ISO 9000 and all that processes and all agile methodologies, Scrum, etc., a whole bunch of jargons that is associated with it. So how do we do this? We establish a lead pipeline. We create a marketing strategy wherein the name is given out to people. We establish a sales strategy wherein we say that, okay, here are the services or products that I can offer to these customers. We establish a pricing strategy wherein we say that here is what we will charge for each of these services. We establish a delivery strategy wherein I want to make sure that quality is delivered to people. And then I also establish a sustainable strategy wherein if I charge 5,000 rupees for my training and I only have 5 people, then I will not be able to pay my trainer, right? So at the same, I also need to look at what my burn rate is, what is the amount of money that I can create out of you guys, and then make sure that I establish a 30% margin on the business that I'm doing. And which is what is your P&L strategy, profit and loss strategy. So your company kind of combines all these things together. I know that I might be, a lot of people might be thinking, oh, is it very complex? It is not very complex, actually. All these jargons you will learn while you're on the job. At the end of the day, business is as simple as if you're spending $100 and if you're making 120 rupees, then you have a sustainable business. If you're spending $100 and you're only making 80 rupees, then you don't have a sustainable business. That is the thumb rule which everybody needs to follow. As students, what I would suggest you do is that you also put some exit strategy, right? If things are, it's very easy. It's like I always say that entrepreneurship is like riding on a tiger, right? You can't get out of it sometimes. You're on it. If you get out, it'll kill you, right? So the students have the luxury, actually, I would say, of losing your reputation as an entrepreneur early on and still go back to a job. It doesn't matter,
Yes.
right? But a person like me, who is like 20 years of age, now venture into something and that becomes a huge flop, then I will have some convincing to do to get into my next venture. But student failures are often seen with kindness by society, by investors, by customers, right? So you always get second, third chances. So it's okay to fail. One. Second thing is, don't cling on to it just for the sake of clinging on to it, right? You will know in the first 2.5 years, you will know whether you will be able to build a sustainable business. If you're not able to do that, I would suggest that it's better to go back to a job and do well in that job. There is no problem doing that. I don't know if I answered your question, Anne.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's an inspiring story, and we were able to take many points from that journey of yours. Like, I'm sure that every young entrepreneur here did take notes on the importance of sales pitch, finance management, and yes, exit strategy that you explained so well.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you just mentioned about that. Convincing your customers is really important. And I noticed that one time on stage during a presentation, you once showed the picture of a crow and said, "Kakeki tan kunyu pon kunyan." And do you actually think people being more passionate about their idea rather than thinking about will someone use their product and invest in them is an issue in the startup world?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I myself have gone through that problem. Because oftentimes, even just today before this call, I was in a call with a customer, right? And then it's one of the largest pharma companies in the world. Their question, and there are different kinds of people who will use your product. One is the user of the product, right? So if I were to simplify this, I'll say I have an Apple Watch, right? As a user, what do I expect the watch to do? Okay, I expect to show me the time. I expect it to do some fitness activities and all that stuff. I expect it to take my phone. If I need to talk over the watch to somebody else, I should be able to do that. So there is a whole bunch of utilities that you expect the product to have. That is the user that we are talking about, the end user, right? Then there are the engineers who will come and assess your technical situation. And that is what happened today. So we had a very good pre-sales meeting, probably 3 of them with the user community who are going to use the product. Now they wanted to actually run it through a whole bunch of data scientists who are part of their organization itself, right? So the data scientists came in and asked, so where exactly is the machine learning piece, right? My answer, I didn't answer that way. My answer would be, who cares? Who cares? As long as the product is doing its job, whether it is being done by machine learning or whether it is being done by a person behind the scenes, do you really care? Why are you insist? So the problem with the product development these days, at least I have gone through that problem, I've seen many people going through that problem, is that you focus on the technology too much and you focus less on the product market fit, as we call it. So does this product have a market? Are people willing to pay for it? You might have noticed that there are so many products or applications, cool applications on your phone, which you will happily use when it is free. And the moment the application comes and say that please pay 10 rupees per month for using this application, you will stop using it, right? So don't think that it is very easy for people to pay money to make use of your product. It's a habit that you're establishing. When you say search, if people go and search in Google, it's a habit that they have established and they're making money out of that habit. When I want to book a ticket, before I used to go to black market or I used to go and stand in the long queues. Now I go to book my show. It is a habit that has been established and it takes a long time, a lot of marketing, very good products in order to establish. Now I don't think about any other product other than book my show to book my ticket, right? So it becomes very, very, very important that when you are developing a product, make sure that you start with the problem statement, identify whether that problem statement is big enough so that people will pay money for it, and then identify what is the market, how many people will be willing to pay money for it. Is it only like a 50 people who will be willing to pay for it? Then it's not worthwhile, right? It's not worth for you to go ahead and do these things again, right? Because you're spending a good amount of your time, your life in order to create this product. So there should be people who are willing to use this product. There should be people who are willing to purchase this product by writing a check or paying money over your credit card. And there should be a significant number of people who will be willing to do that so that your product becomes viable in the longer term. It's a mistake that I would say 90% of the people does. Smart ones realize it during the way and then pivot it. But everybody starts with this mistake of, I have this cool technology or this cool app or this cool device that I want to give to the people. And nobody looks at what is the market, how much, nobody looks at the pricing strategy. So I think you don't have to worry about the pricing strategy per se, but you need to look at the market very clearly. And you need to tell your investor that this is a $500 million market. And I want to capture 10% of it, which will be $50 million. So give me $1 million so that I'll be able to develop this product. And when I become, 10 million, it becomes a $50 million company.
Okay, so the issue that you addressed just now, I think most of us students can correlate as well. Because even in college, when we are doing projects and stuff, if there is no cool tech inside our projects, they aren't getting approved or they aren't getting get marks. Even that's a useful thing that we wanted to build. No, we are built as that. So I think that's a great thing you have just mentioned there.
Yeah, I would personally suggest everyone as part of their project to create something useful. It could be as simple as a website about your college, right? Or a website where people can come in and register for something, or some conference application. Anything that people will use, because believe me, it's not easy. Okay, even if it is a very small application, if there is 1,000 people consistently using it, to keep that application running or keep that product up and running so that people uses it without a problem, it's not a small task. It is an extremely difficult task.
Okay, sir. I will go with one more question for that. I will give you two options, but you can only pick one, right?
Yeah.
Having a great ideator with a perfect $1 million idea and a below par team, or the best execution team with all the skilled labor, technical brilliance, marketing, business, and but then just an average idea. Which one would you pick?
It's a very tricky question. I would go, based on my experience, I would go with the second option. Okay, and I'll tell you why. I believe that there are thinkers and doers in the world, always, right? There are thinkers and doers. And looking at all this 7:30 debates that is happening in different TV channels, I believe that the number of thinkers is far exceeding the number of doers. There are few people who will actually do things, who will actually go ahead and make a change in a society, who will actually venture out to build a house for a needed one, right? But everybody will talk about it. Everybody will put Facebook posts about it, about how how you should do charity and how you should go and help your people around you, how you should bring electricity into flood lit areas and all that stuff. People will say, they will write, they will even debate, but very few people actually execute these vision in a quality fashion these days. That is my experience. And I would value that team more than the idea, because idea will come. Idea will come from a discussion. Idea will come from people. Idea will come out of a eureka moment. That's okay. Idea will come. But converting that idea into a viable product which people will use and make sure that it runs without flaws is a tough task, which only good engineering teams can do. So I would go with the second one.
So
And that's just based on my experience. My experience. It is not a rule of thumb. Let me also remind you that you shouldn't go with my experience as a rule of thumb here. You should go with what your gut says. Because as entrepreneurs, one of the biggest things that you should remember is that I always believe in what is called a gut feeling or your intuition, right? Sometimes you have a strong intuition that this could go right. This is a big idea. This is something that could change the world. Go with your intuition, because at the end of the day, entrepreneurs also work on intuitions. Some people call it luck, but I would like to call it's my gut feeling. And that gut feeling is usually come from your experience, some people are gifted with it, your intellect, your reading, a lot of things, contribute to that.
Indeed, sir. That's just what we want to hear. And we get to know that having a great team around us does matter a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's again, Thomas, I would like to say that, again, underline the fact that that is just my opinion based on my experience.
Well, in the past few months, due to this pandemic situation, a lot of changes have happened in the entrepreneurial sector and in IT companies as well. Has it affected your company? If yes, how are you managing it?
Yeah, I would see the only change that is really, because we work in pharmaceutical research, and I shouldn't say luckily, but that is one industry that is thriving. Everybody is doing their research to find out a new drug, and that is an industry that is not going anywhere at this point. So that way, I think we were lucky enough to be in that, but not lucky enough as a human being, wherein you're always looking for new drugs. So we didn't find that as a problem. Business is a problem. What we did find though is the work from home problems. Like everybody is sitting at home. Everybody is working from home. Only very few people come to office. I go to office. My system administrator comes to office once in a while. That's it. Nobody else comes to office, right? So what you really miss, and this applies specifically to me. Okay? There are two kinds of people: people who derive energy from within, right? So no matter what happens around you, you can still find energy from you, and you can perform, right? And then there are people who find energy from the people who surround you, right? The company that you keep, your friends, your employees, your parents, your colleagues, etc., etc. I belong to the second category. I need to be in the middle of people. I like being in the middle of people. I like working with people, right? So all of a sudden, when you are actually stuck at home, you have people around you, but three people, which is my wife and two kids, and sometimes it is difficult to derive energy out of them. So I would say I miss my office at times. And initially, a lot of employees thought that it is very good to be working from home. They all felt that it's very productive because you don't have to get up in the morning for the sake of going to office. Because going to office by itself is a 1.5 hour getting ready process. You go, you shave, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, you put a shirt on, insert, iron, etc., etc., etc. It could easily go into 1.5 hours, and if you have heavy traffic going to your office, that's another half an hour of commute, right? So you save all that. You're sitting at home. Your mother will, and especially for unmarried boys and girls, mothers will make something and it will be served hot on their work table, and then they can directly start working. And they were all very happy in the initial days. But eventually, I think everybody is now facing the heat a little bit, wherein it's getting bored. I have no social life. I'm not able to get that organizational this thing. My frustrations are increasing. There is even one girl. So we did a survey among our employees about, what do you think? You guys want to come back to office, or do you want to work from home? Everybody wanted to work from home till September 30th for sure because of the pandemic situation. And after that, everybody wanted to get to an office way. There was one girl who said that I would like to come back to office even today. So I asked her, like, what happened? Why do you say that you want to come back to office? So she said that I recently got married. I'm in my husband's house. Now I do all my housework, and at the same time I also do all my company work, and it's like a double duty for me. And I just want to come back to office and start working at peace. So that has been a little bit of a challenge, and the stories of frustration and stories are increasing quite a bit among employees, among youngsters, and stuff like that. So I think that is one major challenge that we are facing. And along with that, you also, there is something called an organizational culture, and I'm sure it happens to colleges also. Like, I like going to my classroom because I would like to see these people. There is a certain energy that I derive from it, and all that stuff, right? So all of a sudden, that organizational culture that you have built over the past several years suddenly is missing because you're sitting idle, sitting alone, and doing your work and doing nothing else. In office, we had so much engagement activities and all that stuff. So that is a challenge that I'm seeing and workplace is never going to be the same ever again. It has changed for good. A lot of people are going to be working a lot from home in the coming days, at least in our industry. So we are now thinking about maybe every month people will get together at a resort or something like that, stay there, have fun, do work, do all the meetings there, and then go back home. So new models will evolve in terms of working. And I think one of the things that you all need to get prepared to is also that it's not going to be the traditional model of working moving forward by the time you pass out of college and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the challenge.
Yeah, well, let's all hope that everything gets back to normal.
Yes. So that is the good thing this time is that the whole world is praying for that. It's not just India or Kerala or Vietnam. It's everybody. The whole world is thinking that okay, hopefully we can get back to normal in the next few months. So that's good.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned the story of a housewife, and you mentioned about working at home. If I am correct, there's a person in your home that works for you as well. She is the director at Clap, maybe?
Yeah. So my wife is also a director in both the companies, actually, Clap Research as well as Gen Pro Research India Private Limited. So yeah. So before we used to have family time as family time, right? Every day morning we would sit with a tea, probably for an hour, read the newspapers, have a little chit chat about what happened yesterday at office and stuff like that. And that was not a time which we entertained any other thoughts, no work thoughts, no kid thoughts, and things like that, right? Again, the same thing happened. I stay very close to my workplace, to Technopark. So we used to come to home for lunch, right? So we have another hour which was completely reserved for us, wherein we could talk about our stuff. Now, what has happened is, I think everybody is working all the time, and the real mental distance has increased, even though you're physically very close within the same home. So that is something that we kind of talk to each other about. She doesn't work full time for Clap Research. She's a director in a director capacity. She works with Clap Research, but she has another job. So that's a different story altogether.
That's just glad to hear. I'm sorry, but we are running out of time. So I just have one more last question before we move on to the open session. I'm just disappointed because I had over 30 questions. I'm just at 14 or 15. So the
Right.
last question, it may be a cliche question to you, but define success, define happiness for you, sir. For you.
See, and again, don't take this as an advice, anybody, please. So my definition of happiness is when I can do things that I want to do, right, without caring about anything, and primarily money, right? So there are certain things that I want to do. I want to go to certain places. I want to attend certain festivals. I want to probably have a vacation every year in a certain location. So these are all things that I want to do. And every time when you look at your bucket list, as we call it, and when you are about to check off your bucket list, the first thing that comes to your mind is money, time, your company, what is going to happen to it if you stay, away for 1 month and things like that. So for me, happiness is when I can do what I would like to do without thinking about the rest of the world.
Indeed, sir. Thank you for that
Yeah.
moment.
Again, it's a very
Well,
vague thing, but that's what it is for me.
Okay, sir.
well, here is one last question. Can you share any tip for everyone out there which you have learned along the way, but you wish you had known beforehand?
Say that again, and I didn't understand the question well.
Can you share any tip for everyone which you have learned along the way of your entrepreneurship, but you wish you had known
Right.
that beforehand?
I wish I had known that beforehand.
Is
Yeah, I
there
think
any?
one thing that I've learned. One thing that I've learned about entrepreneurship is it's like a graph that is never. It could be a graph that is never ending, right? So if okay, limit t tends to infinity. If
Okay.
hard work is a function that you can continue for infinite amount of time, you will find success. There is no doubt about it. That is a thing that I have learned during my life. If you are able, because what happens is you lose hope in between. Persistence is not something that is everybody's cup of tea. People will try for, uh, 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, they will give up. But there is gold in there. If you keep on digging, you will find gold. And that is my experience. There are certain times in which I have felt that I should quit, but then I have gotten my act together and come back to the act. And later I found out that pays off. So, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is persistence pays. Not very easy to be persistent, but if you do persistent hard work, that pays in the longer term.
Indeed, everyone here will be keeping note of that as well. Sir, we will be moving to
Yes.
the open session now. And for the ones who have highlighted, I will call out their names. You can unmute your mics, then ask the question directly to sir yourself. So Joseph Sam, you can unmute your mic and ask the question if you're there.
Hello, sir. Is it audible?
Yes, Joseph. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hello, sir. First of all, this is a great session. I could get a lot of points from what you said. Sir, I have two small questions. It is something personal, like, okay. So this lockdown days, sir, it made me start two new habits. One is nothing but reading. I was not that reading type of person before, but recently I started reading and I almost completed two books. So can you suggest me a good entrepreneurial book?
That's a good question. Actually, I can't think of a good entrepreneurial book other than the autobiographies of some of the good entrepreneurs. I have read The Making of the Twitter. I have read the autobiography of Steve Jobs, if you have heard about that. I've heard the Mindtree founder, if I remember right, his name is Subrata Bakshi, Making Lives Better or something like that. These are some of the books that I have read. But I think one of the books that you can read and somebody suggested to me is there a book called Hooked? Anybody has read Hooked?
I don't.
Yeah, so Hooked is, I can get that name to you because it's about how do you identify the opportunities and then hook people onto that opportunity or the product that you're creating. I think the name of the book is Hooked, but I can get you the details. One. The second thing that I would suggest is to read a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. It's about new opportunities, about identifying new opportunities that is completely non-existent. So I would suggest these two books. I will get you the exact details of these books via Ashik.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. One more thing. Second, I said about two habits, right? So second habit is nothing but it's procrastination actually. I don't know why. So can you suggest some tips I can follow to get rid of this procrastination because it's really bad, I know.
So do you, one habit that I picked up during the lockdown days is agriculture, and I know a lot of people actually went ahead and tried it out. So what I learned in that process is, so I I tell my kids that until there is a fire, there is no fire. So that's something that agriculture has taught me, right? So the fact that the seed, you have sown the seeds, or it has groomed, or it has come, or it has flowers, doesn't mean that you can take the vegetable out of it. You need to do a consistent effort. It teaches you um, the importance of not letting go of a certain activity until you see the fruit coming out of it, right? uh, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't let me. So when there is a sunny day, I always remember to go and take care of it, or water it a little bit and take care of it. When there is a bug coming and sitting on that particular flower, I know that I need to do something which will take care of that, and that keeps me going. That keeps me, the pursuit of the fruit keeps me going in continuing that activity. And that activity has also taught me certain things, and now I try to do a lot of things as and when it comes to my table. Because usually what happens is it's sometimes it's the delay, sometimes it's the inertia that sitting at home that creates, right? But if you engage in an activity wherein you know that you're going to get a fruit in the next 30 days, and you work persistently towards that, that habit might actually then come back and reflect on a lot of your other activities that you do. I don't know if I answer your question well.
Yeah,
Joseph.
it's okay, sir. I got points. Thank you so much, sir. And
Thank you.
Anyone with a question can also highlight them in the chat box so we can call them up on. So next one. And Teresa, can you
Thomas, I
Next
need
week.
to let me just take 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
I need to stop in the next 10 minutes for sure.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Because
sir.
I thought it was a 1 hour session. Was it a 1.5 hour session
No,
that we
sir.
planned?
No, sir. It was our delays.
Okay. So that's okay. So I need to go in the next 11 minutes for sure. 8:30, I have
Yes,
another call. I need to get into that. Okay. Go ahead,
definitely.
please.
So,
Okay, Mohammed Ashik, you may now ask your question.
Hi, sir. And I'm actually CEO of IEDC right now. And you mentioned that you were talking to your client about the agriculture, and now you said that the lockdown period you engaged with agriculture. My question is something more technically related to agriculture. Most
Okay.
of the countries are now going with the corporate planting, or they are taking a big land and using new technologies to plant, and that corporate farming structure is maintaining. Whether it is possible
Right.
in Kerala to make some corporate planting, and what it will be affected by government policies like that, the labors, something like that, the policies and all thing, how it will be affected, and how it is possible in Kerala.
Yeah. So I think corporates getting into farming is a trend, especially in Latin America, in places of US, in even in Germany. They have large corporates who take acreages of farms and plant one specific fruit, not fruit, a food grain or a fruit during the season, and produce it in bulk, right? And then they have the supply chain and the logistics that can properly process it, take it to the retail chains, and make it available all across the globe. That's a process that corporates follow in many parts of the world. In Kerala, an attempt in those lines has been done by one company that I know of, which is called Pops. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. So Pops plantations have tried to organically create certain products, agricultural products, and market it within Kerala. The biggest problem, as I see it, Amjad, right? What's your name again?
Ashik, sir.
Ashik. Ashik, the biggest problem with Kerala is the cost of labor, right? If you were to engage other people. So why did, irrespective of having enough land, why did we not engage in agriculture as a person? Why did I not? Because I would end up paying 1,000 rupees at the end of the day for manual labor. And that 1,000 rupees is not going to fetch me 2,000 rupees worth of products. So unless you can significantly automate the way in which you do your farming, in Kerala with the current labor circumstances, it's not going to be viable. So that is why I think in Kerala, you go for a decentralized approach wherein you let the farmer do his cultivation, right? And then the corporates are going to come and collect these from the farmer. So if you have, mangosteen or pomegranate or rambutan in large bulk, then a Reliance will come and collect the entire thing and then probably supply it through the entire chain of uh, outlets that they might have. So I think my take is that the corporate, in spite of not the corporate way would work in Kerala. The cooperative way would work in Kerala is what I feel, because when you cultivate, you need to cultivate in larger snippets of land, and no farmer has that kind of land. So I can put together all the land and then form a collective or a corporate, and then cultivate on top of it and use mechanization as much as possible in order to reduce the cost. That is the path that I would take. But then again, I'm not a farmer. I'm just talking about some of the experiences that people who got into this direct from farm to customer business who has shared it with me.
So that's about it, sir. I think
Okay, sir.
just want to thank you for all your precious time. And I know we are just around 8 minutes late. And I would like to call upon our nodal officer, Rahul Manohar, sir.
Anoop sir, very warm good evening to you. I won't take much time, just 3 minutes, okay? So,
No one.
actually, my name is Rahul. I'm working as assistant professor here in electronics and communication department. That's about myself. And this program, this is our third episode of our first season. And in the previous two episodes, we got two different people having two different companies, but all of them were youngsters. And exactly, they were talking about the chances they have taken and their story. They were actually sharing their story. But right now, we got the right person having a bunch of experience, and I believe that the entire session you were sharing about the experience that you have. And I personally enjoyed all the suggestions that you have given to the young entrepreneurs right over there from your experience. And thank you for that. And I hope that there were some of the officials from Kerala Startup Mission in this chat. And I hope that they are very much satisfied with the session, because many of the students are asking questions, but due to the time constraint, we are not going with that. And once again, from the Thrice College of Engineering Management and IEDC cell, I would like to express the sincere gratitude to you for coming over here and spending all the time. I'll catch you later through the phone, and thank you for being here with us. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Anne, for moderating the session. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
for
you, sir.
your valuable time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, bye.
Bye, sir.